Nice hat.
Thank you. Same to you, my
Well,
friend.
I just keeping my head warm, although it's summertime here.
Yeah, how's it going out there? I have a couple friends that live out there, and they love it.
It's the place to be at the moment. I hate to brag, but I'm gonna.
Hmm. Yeah, can we trade leaders?
No, not at all. In
I
fact,
don't blame you.
Jacinda has been up here. She recorded a little radio show for my website a few years back before she was prime minister. But we saw the future, and it was indeed her.
Yeah, she's badass, man.
Yeah, yeah. So so I assume you're in San Francisco, is that right?
No, I am in Oakland, California. That's
Oakland, okay.
where I live. Yeah.
Ah, okay, it's close. So how are things? What's the vibe in the Bay Area these days with everything going on around?
It's just it's been shut down early too. The Bay Area shut down one of the earlier areas in the country, and the numbers just keep going up, and it's just right now everyone has fatigue on it, I think, a little bit, but
Sure.
everyone seems to be doing the best they can, and no music is really happening out here and hasn't for a while. There's been a couple of kind of virtual fundraisers for some of the venues that I got to be a part of, and that was fun. There's a thing called the Independent Venue Alliance out here, and they've been trying to raise money, and but we're all just waiting for the vaccine and just trying to keep our sanity for the most part, and try to play.
And of course, you have the inauguration coming up, which everybody's pretty stressed out about as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, God, what happened the other day was just unreal. I mean, just unreal.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It doesn't make any sense, but I mean, there you go. Anyway, you've got a new album out in the middle of all this, so congratulations. As a matter of fact, I can't believe it. It actually made it here.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, it's funny. I've shipped a few internationally, and it might take a couple weeks, but they'll get out there. And I have a couple friends in Christchurch who I sent some stuff to, and they got it. So
yeah, I couldn't believe it, because some stuff takes months to get here, and then this seemed to take not much time at all. And so thank you very much for that. Sounds great.
Of course. Thank you. I see your collection in the background. I love that.
Oh yeah, just a bit.
Yeah, that kind of looks like mine. I'm a vinyl collector, shall we say.
And so there's about 10,000 LPs, but I have about 15,000 45s back in the other rooms.
Oh man, I love you. That is a healthy sickness, but I totally get it, man. I am, whenever I get to travel around the country, or sometimes if I get to go out of the States, I love to go record shopping.
Yeah.
When I'm out, because it's so much fun, and you just find different stuff.
You never know what you're going to come across. Have you ever been to New Zealand?
I have not, but like I said, my wife and I have a couple good friends that live out there, and it's on the list, man. It's definitely on the list to come see. I have some other relatives out in Byron Bay in Australia, so if we can get out there, we'll kind of do a little maybe a 2-week piggyback, but definitely New Zealand.
Byron Bay does the Blues Fest out over there, and then most of the artists come over here from there, so you should be able to tag onto that at some point, I would think.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, my cousin she started the Byron Bay Film Festival.
Oh, cool.
Out there, and but I got to get out there.
So let's talk about your record, God Save the City. So it came out in end of October, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
What was that process like in the current environment, releasing a record like this?
Well, it was going to come out regardless of what was going on, because I started this record 5 years ago. I had some throat cancer issues, and I went through surgery and radiation, and before when I got my diagnosis, I'd gone in the studio with my band to record like maybe 4 of the tunes because I just didn't know what I was going to have when I came out.
Right.
And if I had just had no idea, and so we started it during that time, and then it took me longer to finish it. Couple reasons, just because I was slow, and I was also I was very picky about what songs I was going to put on there, and even though stylistically it does kind of move around, it could have been even wider. Let's put it that way, because I definitely don't make any I don't try to write in a certain style. I just kind of let the song dictate where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But I want it to be a band song. I mean, a band record with my band, and
Yep.
and so we recorded it in San Francisco. My friend Adam Rossi produced it, and it just took some time. And also, these independent artists have to pay for it too, so
Yeah.
it takes some time to get it right and pay for it and all that. So, but I was planning on putting it out before COVID,
Right.
and but it's just so strange how a lot of the things that were in the songs, some of the issues just became more exaggerated once coronavirus came.
Yeah.
Whether it's the homeless situation, or even police killing Black people. That's something I've been writing about for years, and there's a song called Strange Fruit Numb that was about Philando Castile,
Right.
who was killed in Minneapolis like 3 years ago. So
Right.
when George
Yeah.
Floyd happened, it was just like, wow, this is happening again. And but so it's unusual that that the songs in there kind of were about the times that we're living in. And the only thing that's maybe COVID related is just the actual cover and the artwork, because
Right.
I had to do it separate. I wanted to do it with the band. In fact, even the back picture here is all individual shots.
Yeah.
Because
no
we
band
couldn't
shot.
yeah, because we couldn't and shouldn't have get together, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
and so even the video that I shot for God Save the City, I ended up shooting a lot of it. My friend Chris Carlone did an awesome job, and he shot some stuff earlier. Some of it's stuff we shot like a couple years ago, and then the more current stuff is had to do individually with the band members.
Yeah. I mean,
because
I watched the video a couple of times, and you've got all this kind of newsreel footage in there, very current events stuff. So it feels very up to date. And when you put a video like that together, what were you thinking about as far as what were you trying to tell people?
God save the city from a falling fate. When you thought with progress turned to hate. Oh, space removed and folks on the run. Can't afford the living when my living is done. Oh,
well, it's the song is really just about, it's a kind of an anti-gentrification anthem. That's what I call it. And it's kind of what I saw. But I've lived in San Francisco before and seen the wealth come in and the home situation grow. And then living in Oakland, I've seen the trickle effect of money kind of coming in, but not. And so it's really kind of about, when I say God Save the City, it was just kind of a slogan I came up with, it's not that unique. If God Save the Queen, but it was initially kind of about San Francisco, but it also became about Oakland too.
Gotcha.
And then it just became a Bay Area and then nationwide situation. But as far as the filming goes, there's a lot of actual footage from friends at protests, and it wasn't like put together from different YouTube clips or whatever. It was like,
right.
These are actual friends of mine, and some of my footage as well.
Oh, right.
But I was just really trying to kind of put a shot across the bow to about this situation and trying to shine a light on it. And I'm pissed off about it. I'm not happy about seeing these homeless situations just grow. It's so sad. I mean, and I don't know what to do. There's a lot of money that gets thrown at it, but with coronavirus, it just grew. I mean, it's, the Bay Area has always had a pretty good homeless situation, but man, people are in need right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, the video is impressive and kind of inspiring. And I just want to touch on the music on that song, on God Save the City. And I hope you don't be offended, but the bass line for that sounded just like something out of Steppenwolf's Born to Be Wild.
Oh, well, it's funny you say that, because it's actually more, I was kind of worried about it because it's basically, the bass line is Street Fighting Man by the Stones.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not, it's super close. And I was really kind of worried about it a little bit, but it fit, and it's a good nod to the hat. I love the Stones.
Right.
I love Bowie, and it has some MC5 kind of vibe in there too. And
great.
And but yeah, it's funny that you say Born to Be Wild, but it's really Street Fighting Man. Mm-hmm.
This goes to show it's all part of the one long continuum.
Yeah, it's just rock and roll, baby.
Exactly. So you've divided the album. There's a soul side and the roll side. Did you plan on that initially when you were making the record, or did you kind of come up with that after the fact?
Well, it's when the first side was kind of put together, I just kind of felt, when I was putting together the sequencing of the songs, it kind of lent itself to that, I definitely wanted to, and for me, it's really difficult to stick to a style of just, I just, I love people like Elvis Costello and people who just, they write songs. It doesn't have to be a certain style or whatever. And I hate the pigeonholing thing, but I get people need to understand kind of stylistically where you're coming from. But I've always been kind of a soul singer inside, and some of it has come out a little bit more over the years. But this record, I really was I mean, I love Frankie Miller. He's one of my favorite singers.
Oh, yeah.
And so I kind of discovered him late. And so in my head, I was like, I'm making a Frankie Miller record, and so, or at least my version of it. And so the first side was the soul side, and the second side, because second side's a little more country. I had this, I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, and I have these country roots that will just never go away.
Right.
And so I think that I definitely broke it up after the fact. I wasn't kind of trying to write for these different sides. It just, when I put the songs together for the sides, it just kind of rolled out that way.
Cool. Now I noticed the first song on the roll side is a tune called Lee Marvin's Uzi.
Yeah.
And there's a reference to Paint Your Wagon in there and Liberty Valance. That's all great. But tell me, what inspired you to write that?
It was morning, hotter than hell. Knocked on the door, heard a voice that I knew so well. Saw it out the corner of my eye like it was gold. Then Marvin's Uzi had a story untold.
Well, that is a true tale. That's a true story. So when I lived in Tucson, Arizona, I was delivering water, and on the first route I got was Lee Marvin's house. Okay. And so I'd always heard about, he's always been a legend in Tucson. People would see him, and he had this white Ford pickup, and they would see him at bars, and just a regular dude, and I think he just loved being in Tucson and not having to be a star, and a man's man, great actor. So I show up early in the morning, and just, it was a ranch style house, and I just kind of knocked on his door, because they would leave the bottles out, and I would just replace them and put a note underneath. But I looked to my left, and there was a little just a wall that separates the yard from the walkway. And I look, and there's a fucking Uzi like sitting there, like for real. I'd never seen one in my whole life.
Right.
You know? And so I looked, and I was like, whoa, this must be Lee Marvin's house, you know? And so I knocked on the door, and he answered. He was like in flip-flops and shorts, because it's Arizona, it's the summer, and couldn't have been nicer. I said, hey, do you want me to put a bottle on the stand for you? He's like, yeah, come on in. And of course, he's got that voice, you know, he's got a very, very distinct voice. And so we just started, you know, talking, and he was very personable, and I was asking him, like, you know, I know you sang in a couple, you know, movies, like, did you, you know, how was that? And he was like, man, I was scared shitless, you know. He was just we talked about a couple things, and then finally I'm about to go, and I'm like, so what's the Uzi for?
Right.
Right, because it's just sitting there, and it's talking to both of us, you know. and so he goes, well, that's for the primetime rapist. And I was like, well, he's not coming here. And so what was going on during that time in Tucson, there was a guy who was going around raping women called the primetime rapist in Tucson, and the whole town was really freaked out. I mean, it had been going on for a year or so, and there was a lot of controversy because they arrested a guy and it wasn't the right guy. And so I'd always had the title of the song, and then I did a little bit of research, because I was like, in my mind, I could picture his place, but I was able to look up the living room that I was in. And there's a story of his wife saying that whenever they would go hiking, like, he would have a gun in his back pocket because of the primetime rapist.
Right.
And so eventually they did catch that guy. And as far as Lee goes, I saw maybe 2 other times within the year, but he actually passed away, I don't know, maybe a year and a couple months afterwards, because he had some complications from heart surgery. But I got to meet him, and it's funny, my Tucson friends, everyone's got a good, you know, if they've lived in Tucson for a while or older like me, they have a Lee Marvin story, or their parents have a Lee Marvin story, you know.
Great story. Fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, it's true, man. And he was a cool cat, man. He was a totally cool dude.
Did they ever catch the rapist?
Mm-hmm. Actually, the police cornered him, and he killed himself.
Perfect.
So yeah. It was a trippy time, man. It's definitely a trippy time. And but yeah, it's the case is interesting because, like I said, they were you know, the police were trying to catch this guy, and they arrested the wrong guy, and you know, because the city they were like, we need to catch this guy.
So over the COVID thing that you guys have been going through, and we've kind of gone through, have you been being creative? Have you been writing? I assume it's not going to be another 8 or 9 years till the next album.
Yeah, you know, I think for this one, after this one, I'll probably put out more singles for a little bit. You know, I have some stuff that's written. I've written a few things during this time. One of the exciting things that I'm excited about is, so after I did the record, well, a couple years ago, I got to meet Wayne Kramer from the MC5, and because we met at a show, and it turns out that he was going through the same cancer that I was, but I had already been through it. Right. So we became friends, and I think I helped him through the process, you know, and so I ended up doing, after the record was done, I wanted to do a cover song, and I wanted to do American Ruse, especially for the election, you know, because Wayne and I talk a lot of politics, and he's just an interesting, amazing guy. Yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about him. And so I said, man, I would love to do my band version of American Ruse. Like, would you be into it? And he's like, hell yeah. So we kind of, you know, got in the studio with my band, you know, a couple people at a time, because no one can get together at the same time. And then we cut American Ruse and put it out on election day.
Right.
What do we call it? Oh, ejection day. Yeah. So we put it out on ejection day. And so since then, Wayne and I have been doing some writing and stuff together. So hopefully something will come out of that.
Cool.
And then as far as a record for me, it'll probably take me a little time.
Fair enough. At least you have it. I mean, these people who are like anti-vax and anti-science and all that, a guy like you who has gone through what you have, I mean, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that science. Let's face it. And that must, overshadow a lot of what your thinking is and how you approach life these days.
Well, for sure. In fact, even, for the type of cancer I had, which was MPV related, there's a vaccine for preteens to get it so that they don't ever have to have cervical cancer or throat cancer. And so my kids are going to get it for sure. And because I don't want anyone to go through what I had to go through. And it was difficult. And some of that's in the record, kind of the second side, the roll side, is kind of more specific things pertaining to it, especially near the end of the last song in particular. There's a song called Burn It Off, which is very much about my radiation and how I felt about just the change, the kind of the mental part that you go through when you have cancer. Just kind of getting past that. I was a real grumpy, unhappy person before I finished that song, and my wife was basically saying, you need to talk to somebody because you're being a total dick because you're mad about what happened to you.
Right.
And she was right. And not shortly after that, I wrote that song to kind of exercise those feelings because I wanted to channel it through the art.
Right.
Took it like I never wanted to. Didn't look like me. Caught the wrong reflection. Didn't want to believe. Love lies left over, dying in their prime. Loud winds are gonna howl, baby. Didn't fit the crime.
Sounds like good advice from the wife. Excellent. Well, so hopefully things will get straightened out over there in the next few weeks, months, who knows? And because I get the feeling that you love to play live. I can tell.
Yeah, that. I can't wait. I mean, this record that we made is essentially a band playing live in a room, and I just can't wait to play out with this. A lot of this stuff in fact, our last show we played in February 20th of 2020. And it was so awesome because we basically were able to. I had finished writing the last songs for the record in November, and we'd recorded them. So it's a chance for us to play them out. It was a great show, and we were so happy that this thing, we were able to start to see the finish line of this thing coming out, and then everything ended. But I know that when it starts again, we'll pick up, and I think people are going to be so excited to see live music again, and just when they can get together, there'll be a lot of celebration and hopefully more appreciation for the arts too.
Yeah, definitely need it. Well, thank you very much for taking time to talk to me. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thanks for sending
Marty.
the record. It's even more appreciated.
Awesome, Marty. Thank you so much for having me, and great talking to you. You stay safe out there, and. Really appreciate. Now I got 3 friends in New Zealand.
There you go. Excellent. All right. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.